Hello all, I hope you're doing well today. A member of the Substack messaged me and we're having a little interaction, and he mentioned this video he saw from the Church of England. Now, like many men, and this is tragically sad, he's looking at modernity, the corrosion, the lack of meaning. He can see things getting very chaotic, and he's starting to explore his roots. He's starting to also explore something beyond the material. He's looking for big answers. And he looks into the heart of his own tradition, the Anglican Church, and what does he find? Well, when he's looking for structure, guidance, advice on how to deal with the tough challenges of life and how to be a man, he finds this.
Each year, Refugee Week shines a spotlight on the experiences, challenges and contributions of refugees across the world. The theme this year is community as a superpower, and it's a particularly potent and appropriate theme for these times. When the political commentary about refugees is often divisive, our communities have the power to bring people together and bridge divides. In churches and communities across the country, I've witnessed over and again how simple acts of shared generosity and kindness can become an unstoppable force.
Now let's start from the top. I'm sure this is a lovely, sweet lady and so on, but she's not going to inspire a generation of young men. You may as well get Owen Jones to come in and take the service on a Sunday and lecture young men about how it's great to be trans and gay and so on. And trans is the perfect analogy here, because the Church of England is supposed to be like our cultural father. It's supposed to guide us. It's supposed to be an institution which gives us structure and boundaries in the masculine sense. However, it's been completely dominated by leftist liberal ideology, and it's equivalent to your own father coming home one day in a skirt, lipstick all over his face, saying, "Don't call me dad anymore, son. Call me Deborah." And the tragic reality is, if this actually happened, most folks in the Church of England would say, "Oh, isn't this absolutely great? Because we're compassionate and kind and enlightened, wonderful people who accept everyone and everything." Yet the Church of England has fallen into the same trap as the modern left, modern liberalism. It thinks that compassion is love. It thinks that accepting everything is love. They do this because ultimately our culture, the Western world, has demonized the masculine. It sees no value or virtue in the masculine force anymore. It's always seen in its shadow element, the tyrant father and so on. And when you only understand the masculine principle this way, in essence, you don't even understand the reasons as to why God the Father implements the boundaries he does, and why the Christian tradition used to be very strict with regards to what was and what wasn't allowed. And I'm not saying here there's no space for compassion. Of course there is, but it must be the counterweight to justice and order, the stronger masculine pole. If you don't have that counterweight, you go into chaos, or what's happened to the liberal world and the Church of England is you buy into this ideology of compassion in that you are always right to be compassionate no matter the situation. And this is why the liberal types and the Church of England can't fathom that the people coming over here as illegal migrants couldn't be anything but divine innocent children. Now, they don't do this because these people actually are innocent. They do this because it's part of their ideology to tell themselves that they're good people for thinking that's the case. And this is why I'm very eager in my videos to try and reframe our understanding of love. You know, we think of love in this day and age as basically sex on the one side. It's just Hollywood emotionality and hooking up. The modern Christians in the Anglican Church just see it, as I say, as this sort of feminine compassion. But properly understood, love is something more like realizing that your own individual self is a total limitation of what you truly are in the eyes of God. That you have a truth in the spiritual unity of all. Now, from this place, we can view things more neutrally, and we can see that there are the poles to life. So you have a light side and a dark side to everything, and it's true with these refugees, quote unquote, too. Many of these people are not here as innocent little bunnies. Many of them are here to cause a lot of trouble, and if you keep welcoming them into the Western world, they won't just undermine our society, they'll undermine Christianity itself. Now, because of this huge blind spot, the Church of England doesn't seem to realise that its own people, the English, are craving direction. They're craving their roots to be explained to them. There would be 2 million more people up and down the country going to church if they would take a direct Christian line. But the reality is that millions upon millions of men now are looking to the church, and what they find is another woke lecture from a Guardian Easter, which is the exact opposite of what they're looking for. Most tragically as well, these Guardian Easter lectures aren't even the Christian tradition in its fullness. Properly understood, yes, compassion always has a place in the Christian life, a massive place, but it must be understood that the Christian church in England has been gutted out and that it's been replaced, reinflated with the ideology of liberalism, which will only allow the elements of Christianity that serve the globalist agenda. And what this means is men and male energy gets pushed out of the church and it's replaced by women like we saw earlier in the video. And as I say, I'm sure this woman is a lovely lady. I'm sure you could have a pleasant chat with her over a cup of tea. But to be blunt, she's not going to inspire a new generation of men to lead the tradition forward and keep our country moving. And you might think, yeah, well, I'm not really a Christian myself, so none of this matters. It does matter because it's your tradition. You don't have to literally believe in Christianity to know that the background of England is rooted in Christendom. Yes, you could argue that we had a culture and a people before that, and that does matter. But the point is, a mythology acts as a sort of backbone to a people. It gives a structure, a shared morality. It focuses the collective mind. Now, we've removed that in the Western world, and we've seen the results. Everything becomes chaotic. It stops making sense. And now we're looking back to the church and realizing that that too has been poisoned. And as I say, the end result of this, spiritually, soulfully, culturally, is like having a trans dad. The very thing that you look towards for structure, for guidance, for introduction into the mature world is the very thing that's gone the other direction. Now, I don't want to make out there are no good people in the Anglican Church. There are, and there are some people that really do know what's going on, but they tend to be pushed to the fringes these days, and that's an absolute tragedy because it means the next generation of men who should become the very coordinates we look to and the next generation looks to maintain the health of the tradition just aren't being created. This is why I often say, if some elder figures in the Christian tradition say, I think you've got this wrong, I think you've got that wrong, great, destroy me. There shouldn't be a need for someone like me. Take our young men, introduce them, initiate them into the world of masculinity and the spirit, make them great fathers, awaken their hearts and minds. The harsh reality is that's not happening. So people like me, who again, I've been lost myself and had to find my own way, are having to do it. And more men are realizing, look, no one is coming to help us. We're going to have to dig deep into our own tradition, link arms and push on together. In essence, the Church of England has been lost to modernity. It's become liberalised, transified, wokeified, feminized, and we have to leave the bulk of it to talk about how great refugees and Muslims and gay people and trans people are. To me, it's become over civilized and weak, but we do have a wonderful tradition to draw on here. One of the things I love about the Gospels is how raw it is. It's a great story where Jesus finds a blind man, and in healing him, he brings up a great chunk of mud from the earth, spits in it, rubs his hands together and rubs it in the man's eyes. It's all tactile and raw. John the Baptist lives on the edge of the town in the wild, big beard, wears a garment made of camel's hair, dunking people in the River Jordan. This is real, it's getting involved, it's masculine. In fact, one of my favourite stories in the Bible is Jesus when he goes into the caves to face Legion. I really recommend you check it out if you haven't already, but Legion's this madman who lives in these deep, dark, labyrinthian caves. He's completely nuts. You can just hear him yowling and screaming in these deep, dark caves, bashing a stone on a rock. Everyone's terrified of him. Jesus just walks straight into the caves, like no fear. Just in he goes. And he basically, brings these demons out of this guy, and I just view it as such a lovely metaphor for no matter how dark and deep we get in the madness, no matter how lost our culture goes, there is this knowing presence, this figure of Jesus within and without that can course right to the centre of it and explode the madness in his truth. I think that one really touches me because it gets to the heart of what love is. No matter how mad and lost someone is, no matter how dark it gets, Jesus is still there at the core of things. And, real spirituality, real Christianity is found in the darkness and facing that. It's not in this, hippy dippy sort of isn't trans great, aren't pride marches great. It's all a corruption of what it is, at least to me. Anyway, I hope that the Anglican Church will turn a corner, but it doesn't seem to anytime soon. So it's very much my mission to try and aid young men in their own initiatory journeys. I'm going to hold a free call on that soon. Do join the Substack, ideally become a member. It's only £5 a month, cup of coffee a month. And you can join the monthly calls, connect with me, have a chat. We had a really nice chat at the weekend, actually, me and a few fellas. So do come along to that. Other than that, I will be doing the 7 steps. It's my process of initiation for modern men quite soon. So do join the Substack in preparation for that. Other than that, try and stay away from the trans church, try and move towards the real stuff, and we'll catch up again soon. Peace be with you, brothers.